Hello and welcome to another episode of Rico'S Rants. I'm your host, Rico DiGiorgio. So first off, just want to say, I finally, after like almost a month of misery, I finally feel better. Like, I don't have my sunglasses on, I'm louder, I'm more excited. I was suffering from I get really bad migraines, and I had one for about 3 weeks, off and on. Like, I would be better some days, I'd be worse some days. Yesterday I was really worse. I was just cold sweats. I was puking. My head ached terribly, so I just suffered, and I even had to bail at work. Like, I got permission from everyone. There was no one else for me to cover me, but I basically had to like put up a sign at the door apologizing for the inconvenience and lock up the store and just go home and go right to bed. That's all I did. I went straight to bed, woke up at about 3 in the morning, stayed awake for a couple hours, still felt not 100%, went back to sleep, woke up at 9:30, feel fine. Feel mostly fine. I'm about 90%. I'm still, I think a lot of it is me wearing the sunglasses throughout a month, almost nonstop. So now I'm sort of getting used to the light. And also I'm having my first cup of coffee in about a month, so. And I was kind of I actively avoided it because I don't really know if caffeine prevents a migraine or affects a migraine. So, that being said, I actually want to talk about a movie that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but I didn't have the energy to. And this is very much a energy required movie. And it's called The Departed, or as I call it, The Departed. Because if you follow my stuff, you know I'm a fan of Boston movies, Boston themed movies. My father's from Massachusetts. I've never been to Massachusetts, but just from pure association with him, I have a love for it. I have a slight accent. So when I first saw this, I don't even think I didn't see it in theaters because I was 16. But my friend and I rented it back when video stores were still like around, and it just, I can't speak for him, but it floored me because I was already a big fan of Martin Scorsese, and in particular Goodfellas, and this sort of, for me, I thought was basically a Irish Goodfellas, and it kind of is. It's its own separate movie. In fact, it's a remake. It's a remake of a Chinese crime film, which unfortunately I have not seen, called Infernal Affairs. And I will, admittedly, my understanding and my history and knowledge of Asian cinema is pretty limited. And I mean all Asian cinema. Like, I've seen some Japanese movies, I've seen a couple Korean films, but up until recently, I think I've only seen 2 Korean films in my entire life. So not a whole lot of Chinese films. Not that I'm against them. I just haven't, seen any. So, at some point, I'll watch Infernal Affairs. But before all that, The Departed. So, first off, one of the things I love about this movie, and I love this movie, and there will be spoilers through the entire thing. One of the things I love is the cast is amazing. Bear in mind, I said this in one of my most recent videos of the Titanic one, I'm not a huge fan of Leo DiCaprio. For a long time, I kind of felt like he was a okay actor in amazing films. And he always got a lot of credit because the films were amazing. Usually because he works with Martin Scorsese, who really is one of the best filmmakers we've ever had and currently have. In the same sense that Robert De Niro is amazing actor. He just also happens to be in some of the best movies directed by the best director. Not to say De Niro's not a bad actor, but you see what I'm saying. DiCaprio is sort of Scorsese's new De Niro. Starting with The Aviator, I believe. And they're all... like, I'm sort of growing on DiCaprio, but I still also am kind of stubborn, being like, my thing is I could see other actors doing the roles that he... doing his roles. Maybe doing them better, but my whole thing is I want to see some difference. I want to see a different actor work with Scorsese. I can appreciate if something works right, stick with it. I get that. But I want to see Edward Norton. I want to see Johnny Depp. I want to see Robert Downey Jr. work with Scorsese. I want to see, bring Kathy Bates. Put Kathy Bates in a fucking Scorsese film. Or, I don't know, Brad Pitt. Anybody. I just want to see a little bit of variety. And he does do some variety in this. He uses actors he's never really used before. So the cast is DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Martin Sheen, Alec Baldwin, fucking Marky Mark Wahlberg, and the one, the only, Jack Nicholson. Oh my god. If I could only give you one reason to watch this movie, it's Jack fucking Nicholson. Nicholson is terrifying in this. He's crazy. You can't take your eyes off him because he's so insane. And he did a lot of crazy shit in this film. And he ad-libbed a lot of stuff. And even Scorsese was just like, dude, I can't put that in here. Because Nicholson kept adding more bizarre scenes where he was just like... There's a scene where he requested he throw cocaine on some hookers. That was not really part of the thing. And it was showed him with a couple hookers, but he's like, I need to get some fake cocaine. And he just threw cocaine on them. He's like, don't move till you're numb. Oh my god. And he was Scorsese was like, what the fuck? Okay. Hey, Jack, I focus. I'm with you. So, quick little rundown of the plot. Very Boston themed, which we talked about, but also it's all about moles and double crosses and infiltration. Beginning of the film, Nicholson's character, who is based heavily on Whitey Bulger. Going back to my very first Rico's Rant video, I talk about Whitey Bulger. I talk about the movie Black Mass with Johnny Depp. So Nicholson is inspired by Whitey Bulger, who was a Boston Irish gangster who was a informant to the FBI. And so he used his information, essentially, to get the FBI to get off his back because he would supply them with information about the Italian mob, which would have been Providence, Rhode Island area for New England. Despite my dad coming from Massachusetts, Massachusetts is a prominent Irish community. So Nicholson is known as Frank Costello in this, which always kind of threw me off because being Italian, I knew that Costello was an Italian name. I've seen a lot of, it's also an Irish name, which is so bizarre. You know, every gangster named Costello, or every actor or comedian, Lou Costello, Frank Costello, they're Italian, but this guy's supposed to be Irish. It always kind of like, what? Couldn't you call him Burke, Mick something, O something? What the fuck is this? So he's a gangster. In the beginning of the film, it shows him meeting young Matt Damon character, Colin. and he sort of incorporates him in his crew and trains him and mentors him and has him get into the Boston Police Department. So he's got his own little protege in the task force, in the police task force. On the flip side, Leo DiCaprio plays a kid who grew up on the wrong side of the tracks of Boston, and also at the same time had upper class upbringing. He had split parents, so some days he would drop his Oz, and then other days he would be more upper class. But his family is a criminal family, connected in particular to Costello's organization. So he desperately wants to be a cop, or as they say, co-op. So he trains, he goes to the States, he becomes a cadet, and then Martin Sheen and Mark Wahlberg have their own sort of undercover unit, and they bring him in, and Mark Wahlberg is fantastic because he's just he's the most Boston guy you've ever fucking heard. He's just crass, he's in your face. He's fucking wicked smart. He's fucking sharp as shit, and he's just getting in DiCaprio's face. And Martin Sheen's just sort of sitting there collected, quoting Shakespeare, and Marky Mark is just trashing on both of them, but he's respected and he's feared, he's intimidated. And I read he based his performance and his character on all the cops who used to fuck with him in Boston when he was a kid. So there is some truth to it, and the majority not the majority, but a good chunk of the cast is from Massachusetts, like Mark Wahlberg, like Matt Damon. So there is some authenticity in this. So they recruit DiCaprio and say, okay, we believe there's a mole of Costello's in the Boston Police Department. We need our own type of mole to infiltrate him. So they have him get arrested on a phony charge. He has to serve some time in prison. He gets out of prison. He makes some small deals, which gets the attention of Nicholson or Costello. And of course, at first Costello is hesitant and suspicious. And he, at one point, actually, interrogates him. DiCaprio has a broken arm, and he just beats the shit out of his broken hand and his arm, going through the cast and everything, see if he has a wire. Throws him some fucking bills at the end. All right, get your arm taken care of. And so now there's two moles, and we see both of them. We see Matt Damon constantly covering up all the attention that's leading to Costello. And then we see DiCaprio constantly trying to find out who the actual mole is in the PD. That's all it is. It's kind of a complicated plot, but it's really not. It's really simple if you just watch the film. But describing it's kind of just there's two moles. That's all it is. At the same time, Damon's character, Colin, is got a lot of pressure, and you see it shows because he's just he's covering his tracks. He's trying to desperately find out who DiCaprio essentially is. So he's trying to find out who the mole is. And it's a lot of cat and mouse type of situations. On top of that, he has a relationship with a psychiatrist played by Vera Farmiga. And I love Vera Farmiga. The few films I've seen her in particular this one, she's fantastic. A lot of my knowledge of watching her is from the show Bates Motel. And I love that show. I have not even finished it. I've sort of been savoring it because it's such a great show. And she is brilliant. And I've always been a big fan of Vera Farmiga. So she's in a relationship with Matt Damon. And on top of that, she's the shrink to DiCaprio. So she, without even knowing it, is dealing with these two men who both have to deal with Nicholson as their mentor, and it takes a toll. In particular with DiCaprio, because DiCaprio is just a nervous, ticky, fucking wreck. Because he's afraid he's going to get caught any minute and shot, and there'll be no record that he was trying to do the right thing, that he was on a fucking mission from the police force, that he was on, undercover work, because there's no file. If there is a file, it's really well hidden, that only Martin Sheen and Marky Mark have access to. So he's not sleeping. It doesn't show it, but he comes off like he's doing drugs. Like, it comes off like he is doing drugs to deal with it. He's just a nervous fucking, just crazy fucking wreck. So the movie's long. But it's not one of those movies where it's so long you're just kind of like, Jesus, when's this shit gonna fucking end? It's one of those movies where you're just like, I hope this shit doesn't fucking end. One other actor I have to talk about, and I am blanking, what's his name? Ray Winstone he's British. He's not Irish. He's British, but he plays a sort of off the boat type of character who is Costello's right hand man, and this dude is just pure intimidation. Like, whereas Nicholson is crazy and all over the place, and smiling and giving you the whole Nicholson stare down and cracking jokes, Winstone is just steely eyed, just like, you don't fuck with me. Like, real, like, this is the guy that, like, Nicholson will shoot you, but he'll have Winstone stare at you while you're getting tortured. Like, it's fucking crazy to watch. Because, again, the first time I saw this, I had no idea who the fuck Ray Winstone was. I had no experience with him whatsoever. Never seen a Ray Winstone film. And he has a commanding presence, and he has a commanding force. Another one who steals the show is Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin plays another ranking sergeant, captain, I think, in the Boston PD, and he's in charge of trying to find out, trying to capture Costello, and he is just crass but funny, really fucking funny. And there's this great scene between him and fucking Maki Mack where they are trading insults in about 10 seconds. It's quick. It's just perfectly wit. Where they're just like, talking about fucking each other's mothers and shit. It's just, the delivery is just spot on, and it's amazing. The movie's tense. There's a lot of, oh shit, it's all about to go downhill right now. Like, I'll give it to you like this. If you've seen the movie Goodfellas, there's that scene, the funny how scene, where Joe Pesci is saying, funny how? Like a clown, I'm here to fucking amuse you. He's at dinner with his friends. He's telling a story, and Ray Liotta says, oh, you're funny. And he has such a bad temper, he just says, what do you mean I'm funny? Like, he just takes it way too seriously. And there's that uncomfortable, what the fuck's about to happen? We don't know where this is leading. We don't know if Pesci's about to fucking kill someone. That feeling as an audience is throughout the entire film, because you don't know what the fuck is going to go on. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if DiCaprio's about to get shot, if Matt Damon's about to get shot. You don't know what's going on. And to be fair, I've not seen Infernal Affairs, so I don't know how faithful it is to the movie. So, assumingly, if it is faithful, you saw Infernal Affairs, now you're watching this, like, okay, I know what's going to happen. This, I was just like, what? What's gonna happen? I don't know what's gonna happen. But like I said, Nicholson steals the whole fucking movie. And I read Nicholson had done a lot of light-hearted romantic movies. He had done, About Schmidt. He had done As Good as It Gets, which, to be fair, As Good as It Gets, he is a asshole. But he had not played a villain in a very long time. This is the guy who was before Heath Ledger and after Cesar Romero was the Joker. So that hit the bar. He was also in The Shining. I mean, he just for the line, "Here's Johnny," Nicholson's terrifying. It's the eyebrows, it's the eyes, it's the sharp teeth kind of grin that he has. It's the drawling voice. It's the devil may care attitude. Jack Nicholson, unfortunately, is sort of a caricature of himself. But in this film, he is terrifying. He's funny. There's this great scene. There's a lot of great scenes with him, but there's one scene where a lot of scenes are him talking to DiCaprio because he's sort of mentoring him and maybe looking at him as a replacement. He's 70 years old. He's getting old. He needs a protege. He needs someone to take on his gang, essentially. And he's sort of looking at DiCaprio like, maybe this guy is it. And they're in a restaurant together, and he's sketching out something just out of boredom. And he's talking to DiCaprio, and they're sort of talking about whether DiCaprio could take over for him. And he says, all of a sudden he slaps the table and hits a bug, like a fly or something. And he says, "You know why I like to eat in restaurants?" And he's not even looking at DiCaprio. He's just kind of looking at he's not even looking. He's just like, "You know why I like to eat at restaurants?" And DiCaprio's like, "Why? The fucking food?" And he's like, you get to eat all sorts of interesting things. And then he licks his palm and eats the fucking bug. That, I promise you, is pure Nicholson. Scorsese, as talented of a filmmaker as he is, probably had the most fun in a long time making a movie because he said, "All right, let's bring the camera, point it at Jack, let's see what's going to happen. Go." And he's terrifying. And there's a couple more scenes. He's not only terrifying, he's also hysterical. There's a part where he is meeting up with Damon, because Damon's still working for him. He's bringing him evidence, and he's talking to him and saying, "You got a mole in your rat. You got a rat in your crew." And they meet at a porno theater, but they don't initially meet immediately. Damon's sitting down, just watching the fucking movie, like, why the fuck did Nicholson tell me to come here? And then all of a sudden, this hunched over hobo with a trench coat and a hat kind of shuffles by, sits in front of him, on sort of off to the right, and you hear him breathing heavily and looks like he's jerking off. And he says something like, "Be dirty, be dirty," and all of a sudden he goes, "Ah, ah, ah," like he's about to come. And he turns and stands up and turns and faces Damon like he's about to bust a load on him. And Damon's about to shoot him. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And it's Nicholson, and he's got a strap on big black dildo. He's like, see something you like, Collie? Like, it's so bizarre. It's so fucking what? And I remember watching this with my friend on DVD for the first time, and he and I rewound that fucking part like 5 or 6 times, just doubled over laughing. And that's the beauty of this film, is you can laugh, you could be terrified, you could be mystified, you could be captivated, all in about, what is it, 3 hours? I don't know how long this movie is. It is fucking long. That's how fucking long it is. Well worth it. Is it better than Goodfellas? No. Goodfellas, to me, is always going to be the best of his gang movies. If we're really going for, His great gangster films, Goodfellas at the top, Departed, then Casino, and then what was the other one? Mean Streets. Mean Streets is great, but Mean Streets was one of his early films, and there's a lot of it's Scorsese figuring Scorsese out. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's still, practicing. He's not Martin Scorsese yet. He's innovative new filmmaker Martin Scorsese. But easily, I would give this film 5 stars. It's up there with Goodfellas. Goodfellas, I think I appreciate more because it has more. I can identify with it more. I can see the Italian, connection. It's also more of an interesting story, in part because it's a true story. Departed is based on true things, but not a whole lot. I will not ruin the ending. I will not spoil that shit. But I urge everyone, and it's an old film, it's 10 years old. I urge everyone, go see The Departed. Fantastic fucking movie. Easily, for me, I think one of Martin Scorsese's last great films. I like some movies that he's directed since, but not nearly as much as this. And he won Best Director for this. Only time he's won Best Director. Granted, he should have won Best Director many times before this. So I feel like the Academy was like, fuck, dude, we gotta give him this. And it seems like they planned it, because they had Coppola, Lucas, and Spielberg present the Oscar to him like, we fucking owe him one. Kind of like with Pacino winning for Scent of a Woman. Like, Scent of a Woman's a great film. Pacino's fantastic in it. But they were like, all right, Al, here, we're sorry. You deserve this. Go see it. All right, guys. Love you all. Take care.